All right. So the next bit of time here, I'll give a quick snapshot before we introduce the professional skills keynote part of the conference here. So I just want to give some general framing comments regarding what we know about employability and professional skills in the States, and we'll start with talking about what I call teaching beyond the facts, and this is something that I've become really passionate about recently. As we saw, we have really excellent, hardworking students getting great grades in our classes, and the very first semester I was teaching, I saw many of those really great students crying in my office. I saw many of them not getting jobs. I saw many of them falling into to gap years and multiple gap years, and it really struck a chord with me. And since then, I've really been thinking a lot more about when I'm sitting in my course thinking about teaching the barrel reflex, which is one of my favorite things to teach. What is that really doing for their long-term career, right? Like, what are we really doing? So have you ever sat, if you just visualize your class right now for a second when you're standing in front of your people, where are they going? What are they learning? What are they getting out of this? Like, are we really servicing them? And I mentioned this yesterday, like how what I'm doing fits into my department and university learning objectives. But really, that student that's sitting in my course is a future professional. They came to college, many of them, to get a great, fulfilling job and a great career. We're sending them out into the workforce, the STEM workforce. We are saying we want to provide great people to our future workforce. We have future voters in our seats. Like, we want them to be informed, critical thinkers. And the skills that make someone a good future professional and a good society member are much more broad than the autonomic nervous system, right? It goes way beyond that. And so that's what we really want to focus on, Julie, and I want to talk about with you. As we mentioned already, this is the demographic interest from Michigan State. It's the same when we survey all of our interest groups. So we have a lot of people who are aspiring healthcare professionals. These are the current stats, at least up to 2013, about how many total applicants are going into medical schools in the States. So we're seeing increasing numbers of students applying. We're also seeing increasing number of students getting a seat in those programs. But overall, in 2012, about half of the medical school applicants were ultimately getting a seat. Now about 42% acceptance rate. So that's a big number of people who are wanting to go to medical school and are ultimately not getting in. So that's a lot of applications and a lot of letters of recommendation for students who are not getting in. So what are we going to do, number one, to make sure our students are the most competitive they can possibly be to get that seat? And also, what are we doing for that 60% of students who are not getting in and they're going to look for another career? So we have to be thinking about both of those things at the same time. So one of the things is look at the U.S. Board of Labor and Statistics about where the job growth is. And right now it isn't with physicians. It's in other clinical positions. So the overall healthcare is growing beyond other occupations, but physician's assistant potential growth is huge. So nurse practitioner, physical therapist, PA, way more job potential, way more seats than MDs. So how are we going to help our students know that sooner? And I suggest a couple websites that we use: explorehealthcareers.org, healthcarepathways.com. And I actually like to browse around on here, right? This one says we can click on what kind of jobs are available, and it tells you what training you need, what skills you need, how much money you might make in that. There are jobs in here that I've never even heard of, right? So these two things are a great resource for students to say, like, yeah, I'm interested in healthcare, I kind of like physiology, I want to help people. But there's so many other things that people can do. It's unbelievable. So I love to have these websites available for advisors, for students to kind of take a look at. And also give them the job growth statistics, right? Tell them, hey, there's more opportunity in PA school right now than there are for MD. With that in mind, this is a snapshot. The dark green are students who went on to any kind of graduate training. The light green did not. And these are all types of life sciences degrees. The red arrow is physiology. So just a quick snapshot here. About half the students in all of the life sciences degrees are stopping with a terminal bachelor's, right? 90% of them are aspirational pre-health, but about half of them are stopping with a bachelor's degree for a wide number of reasons. But when I look at this, I think, okay, half the students in my seats are going to try to get a job right away. Do they have the skills that they need? Are they qualified? Do they know where to look? Can they interview well? Those are the things that are really starting to come on really high on my radar. So this was when a student asked me, well, I'm one of those 50% of people, what can I do with my career in physiology? And I just typed that into a Google search, like careers in physiology. And what we see was a hit is actually coincidentally, Julia, the APS career site, which we talked about. And actually, maybe it's because I'm Google searching from Arizona, but Arizona's career options showed up there as well. But this is something we talked about. Is this something that PMIG can play a role in? Is developing one of the top hits on here, a more comprehensive look, sharing some of these other resources about what kinds of jobs would be available to students. Okay. Now, this, let me walk you through this snapshot. So it's a little bit light, but this is this data from the census. Men and women working in STEM are the pink and blue dots. And what we're looking at in the red box is students who are STEM majors with a bachelor's degree in the biological sciences, and what percentage of them actually end up getting careers in a STEM field. And that dot is aligned with 16%, 1/6, right? Half of your students are trying to get jobs with a bachelor's degree, and only 16% of them on the national average are getting careers in the field, right? It means that a vast majority of our students are getting a bachelor's degree and they're working in other sectors, right? So, is that our responsibility to help them be more broadly trained and learn about their what other options, like not even just in STEM, but other outside? Yeah.
Does STEM include clinical, or is it outside?
So this is not clinical. Okay. Yeah. All right. So what are some of the other jobs in that other category? So this is from a great summary paper, the value of a college degree. It went by every college degree, looking at what we know about where people in that career, in that major go. And so we're looking pretty broadly, right? Physiology majors are ending up in management, sales, office, community sector, all over. There was another category called pre-health generally, pre-med major. A lot of us would apply there too. It's the same thing. A little bit more finding some work in health, some sort of health support or health professional career. But again, sales, management, office work, business. Our students are ending up all over the place. And I hear different takes on this, whether that's their responsibility or our responsibility to help them get somewhere or figure out what to do or how to provide a good employee to these other sectors. But I also am interested, based on this paper, the starting pay for a bachelor's degree in pre-health or a bachelor's degree in physiology is in the $30,000 to $40,000 range. Right. So the gap that we're facing is right now, close to 60% of our med school applicants are not being accepted. So how do we do better early career tracking to other professional schools like PA, improve matching to the MCAT and AAMC guidelines, strengthening their interpersonal skills, letting them improve their articulation of their skills, kind of unpacking the skills that they already have, being able to speak about that in a personal statement, knowing that many work outside fields of physiology, so how important it is that we provide broad skills training, early career exploration, strengthening interpersonal skills and interview skills. And the sad news to me is the estimates right now from the U.S. Labor Board said about 20 to 30% are either underemployed or unemployed. So underemployed meaning, for example, one of my best students was working 2 years at the job he had in high school, managing a car wash because he was not able to find a job. Really, really good student, so underemployed. And how can we help? Right? That's why we're really here. And that's what Julia is going to speak to us more about. And that is talking more broadly about what we call non-academic skills. So this is the hot topic. Like if you haven't heard it yet, if you haven't seen it yet, I could give an entire hour presentation about all the resources and all the people who are telling us that this is important. It goes by a lot of different names, growth mindset, soft skills, employability skills, but we're all talking about the same thing. So this is a really interesting book, Global Achievement Gap. These are the big heavy hitters. This is what we're supposed to be doing, helping our students develop these skills, critical thinking, collaboration, adaptability, good communication skills, those kinds of things. This comes up again and again and again in all of these different resources, including AAMC guidelines, right? In red, The same stuff again and again. When I fill out a letter of recommendation for a PT school, it asks me to rate every one of these things. Have you observed your student being ethical? Have you observed them doing good teamwork? So if we're able to infuse this stuff into our curriculum, we're directly helping our students, but it's also helping us provide them a meaningful assessment for their professional school, for their letter of recommendation. Like, I need to be able to see them do all this stuff if I'm gonna write them a good letter, right? So it's a win-win situation in that sense. So these are the skills that we're talking about. Most of the time we're focused on our science stuff, right? What's going on with our core concepts? This is what we're thinking a lot about. But I would really encourage you to think about what are you doing in your teaching that's also developing this and doing so explicitly with your students. The good news is a lot of the active learning techniques that we do already allow students to practice critical thinking and communication skills and teamwork. So a lot of the stuff that helps students learn is conveniently a lot of the stuff they need to practice and develop to be good employees as well, so that's good news. This is a guiding document, STEM 2.0, I mentioned this yesterday. This is a government document that says when you're training students in STEM, the number 4 competency is the hard discipline specific content skills, number 4. Number 1 is employability skills. Number 1 thing that we're supposed to be training our STEM students. Okay, thanks. All right, another one I would point you to is the National Association of Colleges and Employers. They're on board with a fantastic website, Career Readiness Resources. You can dig into this website on all these things: critical thinking, interpersonal skills. Are you career ready? Career readiness checklist. So lots of resources for you, lots of resources for your students. Employability, CTE.gov employability skills, great resource there. And this is what I want to. This is one of my favorite slides. So AACU also did this survey. And the light blue is the students, the dark blue are employers. And without showing you what they asked about, it said, hey student, are you really great at this skill? And they said, yeah. And asking the employer of that same student out in the workforce, is that person good at that thing? Not so much. Not so much. So mismatch in how good they think they are at these things, but importantly, the very strongest skill that the students have only got 66% of students saying that they feel comfortable and competent in that. That's failing grade, right? It is. So when you ask students, hey, are you good at communication skills? And if only 66% of our students say yeah, that's a huge problem, right? The skills that we ask them about are the same things again. Are you good at teamwork, ethics, all the same stuff again and again and again. So we can do better. We can do better. And when you ask students about this, as Jen just presented in the survey and has been out in a lot of other literature, they know they need to work on this. They want to work on this. And I have a separate talk because I've been working a lot, Val and I have been doing this a lot in our teaching at Michigan State. And we've done a lot of surveys of students and they're like, oh, thank you that we're finally doing this in class. Like, I know I needed to practice this. I know I need help. I really want to do this. And actually, frankly, the survey data would say, this is other published work, would say when you ask students about their college experience, they say they had an experience that was misaligned with their expectations. Like, I thought I was going to get better trained and know a little bit more. So this is my favorite question, and people bounce this around a lot. Shouldn't they learn how to be a better communicator from their family? Isn't this like a kindergarten thing? Play nice. This is not something that you're teaching in college, right? Didn't they do this in K-12? Well, don't we have a career services office that does this? I don't really think I need to be thinking about this. Well, if medical schools want them to do this, they should train them how to be ethical, right? Train them on site, train them in the job. So there's a lot of finger pointing, right? But what I would tell you is in just those couple documents that I showed you, and there are many, many more, guess whose job it really is, right? That they're pointing the finger at us. Now, technically, it's all of these, right? It's a collection of experiences over time, and of course that's true. But this is really something that we need to be thinking about. It really is. And the students value that. So with that, I'm going to take one second. We're going to transition and introduce our next speaker, who's going to spend the rest of the time talking about these very same issues. But I would pause for just a second to see if anyone has any immediate questions or reflections on the data I just shared.
Well, the idea that students, there's a mismatch between their perception of their skills and what employers actually observe. There's that mismatch in the science part or the academic part. If you ask a student of their perception of their understanding of things, and then when you look at when they're assessed, there's a mismatch there as well. So